Goal setting. We hear about this often in the business and personal development space, but should you be doing this in your marriage as well? Well, in this episode, we're going to talk about how this simple practice can help improve the health of your marriage and also give you a few simple tips that you can put into action so you don't want to miss this. Let's go. Hey friends, welcome to the Marriage Inside Out podcast, where we teach couples how to become mission focused, learning to work together as a team to build a solid foundation for their household. I'm Khalil, and this is my wife, the lady of the house. You already know who she is. You all may know her as AJ, but I call her Adrian. Go ahead and make some noise. Let's make some noise. Yes. All right. So, Wonder Woman, goal setting in marriage. Let's talk about this.
Yes, this topic makes me super excited. It's something we're both really passionate about, and I am especially just really focused and excited about all things self and personal development. For years, I've loved just reading all the books on leadership development and what that looks like. And it's easy to get caught up in to-do lists, right? Of course, most of us have some semblance of a to-do list, whether you actually have a notepad, whether you use a Post-it, whether you actually use an app on your phone, or even if, my to-do list is in my head. Some people actually say that, right? So whatever that looks like, our goal is to help you put those lists into action, right? And not just do it alone, but do it in marriage.
Right, exactly. And this is something that we have been doing since we've been married, and it's proved to be, very beneficial to us. And we've, also been able to teach some of our students this practice as well. And I mean, this is the very thing that has helped us to do things like, improve how we eating more fruits and vegetables in our diets. It's also, been the way in which we've been able to pay off our student loan debt and also pay off a car within 6 months. And by the way, we're going to share our debt-free journey in the next episode. So you really don't want to miss that. So if you're watching us on YouTube right now, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. And if you're listening to this via audio, make sure to go ahead and subscribe to the podcast platform.
Awesome. So we always want to start with the why. So why does goal setting even matter?
Right, exactly. I think to start that off, I think we just need to understand, what goals are. Just a simple definition, because I think we throw around that term a lot. Goals, that term becomes very sensationalized, but goals, plain and simple, are just objectives. They are targets. They are our aims. And I think the illustration that I think of is like a race. So think of, like the show Amazing Race. Some of y'all may like that show, The Amazing Race, but with an adventure race, there is an ultimate goal, and that's finishing the race. But then there are also small goals or objectives along the way that you have to hit en route to that overall goal. So, the goals, specifically the smaller goals, they help to define the mission. They help to add substance to the journey, because, a journey without a goal is just wandering. It's just wandering aimlessly. And so that's something that I think about.
For sure. And there's actually a lot of research around goal setting, and really its association with self-motivation and drive, and really focusing forward on that follow-through component. So there's some studies done by Locke and Latham. They're kind of one of the industry leaders and lead researchers on the topic. And it's so important to realize that there's nothing new under the sun, but it's important that we learn how to best apply these just principles so that we can be more effective as we try to follow through.
Exactly.
So we know the research, right? We know the why and goal setting, but should we actually be doing this in our marriage?
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Why not?
Yes. If it works in business, if it works in other areas, why wouldn't you apply that in your marriage?
Right. Exactly. And for us, just to share a little bit more about how this has helped us, a lot of it goes back to what we've learned about intention and then action.
Yeah.
So, one of the things that we try to do each year is we set a word for the year.
Yes.
And back in 2016, our word for the year was intention. We wanted to be, very intentional about everything that we did, just like the song by Travis Green.
Yes.
Shout out to he's intentional. Shout out to Travis Green. I love that joint. But what we learned was that going into the next year was that although we had a lot of intentions that previous year, they didn't always turn into action. We set a lot of goals that didn't pan out. And so that following year, we decided to say, our word for that year was going to be action. And that's kind of been our mindset ever since, is moving from intention to action.
Exactly. And we want to encourage you to not just let life happen. It's easy to be reactive and just respond to everything that's thrown at us. But if we are able to translate that intention to action, we're actually able to apply what we're learning, so that it's not just a goal, it's not just an idea, but we are moving forward. So as we kind of think about how that affects our marriage in terms of that goal setting, what are some ways that goal setting actually improves and can enhance your marriage?
Yeah, well, there are definitely quite a number of ways, and for the sake of this episode, we came up with 5 that we're going to share with you all. And so the first is that it helps to create opportunities for collaboration and unity and teamwork in your marriage. And within Marriage Inside Out, that's something that we talk about a lot, learning to work together as a team. And so, when you think about the importance of setting goals together, that togetherness component is what it's all about. You're doing something, you're striving towards something together. And, we can also see that on the other end. If you, set some goals, but it's not together, then it can have a negative effect. There's actually a study that we want to point out here that was published in 2016. It was a longitudinal study. So it was done by following a group of couples over 10 years. And what they found was that the couples who did not do their goal planning together were more likely to get divorced.
Wow.
Over that span of time.
That's crazy.
So you can see that there are a lot of implications here, which, it goes to show even how it can be sometimes in marriages where, you have one person that's really serious and the other is kind of whatever. I know you talk about that a lot.
Yeah. And I've seen it, in friends at different stages of life. It's easy for maybe one of those in the marriage to be very career focused and the other to maybe be a little lazy at times, and I'm not pointing fingers, but it's important that you're able to communicate and get on the same page, especially that goal setting practice will help so that you make sure that you do keep that union and continue to hold one another accountable.
Exactly. So I also think about not even just career, but like if someone is trying to be a little bit more serious about their health or fitness or in their faith, or, if there's just one person that is really wanting to go forward, but the other is not really on board, there's no togetherness. And finances, it can just create a lot of that tension. So
Exactly. And setting your goals together in marriage can actually increase your likelihood of accomplishment. There's tons of studies that really talk about that accountability factor in marriage and how helpful it is to have someone running alongside you. There's even, if you think about some fitness cohorts and things like that, there's typically a group of people together, CrossFit, whatever that might be, that are encouraging one another, and that makes you go that extra mile through the process. The same thing is inherent in marriage.
Right. That's so good. That's a really good example within that. Another tip is that it helps to create new experiences together. It creates moments for celebration, moments for reflection, moments for just having meaningful conversations together, talking about, your dreams, talking about your hopes more. I think that's something that sometimes we can struggle with in marriage, is just having those monotonous conversations of, what's for dinner tonight or what happened at work today. But no, it helps to open things up, a lot more. And I think that it's really good for helping to break up some of that monotony and staleness that even we talked about in last episode. If you all remember, if you haven't listened to episode 2 yet, go back and check that out. And we talked about some of those issues. It helps to overcome some of those things by creating that newness.
Yeah. And it also just helps you stay mission focused, right? That's what Marriage Inside Out is all about, to help you stay on mission together and take one step at a time.
Exactly. Adding substance to that marriage journey.
Right.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the final thing that it's really good for is that it helps to set a good example for your children.
Right.
I mean, that's such a big added bonus, is that, as they see you do it, they'll want to do it, right?
Exactly. And for those parents, mothers, fathers out there, it is so important, because you think about how a child looks up to you in terms of the way that they should go, and how you want to set that example. And that's not to add any pressure, right? It's all honestly just a mantle of empowerment to know that as they see maybe you not quite accomplish your goal but grow through it, right? That builds resilience and helps encourage them. And maybe when you're doing family goals together, you can kind of involve them in the process. So it definitely builds that unity in the household for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. So kind of going into some practical tips. We talked about the ways that goal setting helps your marriage, but some really concrete practical tips. What are a few that we really use in terms of our marriage?
Yeah, well, first of all, I mean, we could really get deep within this. We could be here for 30 more minutes, but we won't do that for this episode. What we want to mention is that the live virtual training that we have available on marriageinsideout.com, you can hear more about this. We have a whole framework that we've put together, that where we talk about not only just how to set the goals, but how to actually attain and accomplish and follow through on them. So again, we just encourage you, if you want to go a little bit deeper, to sign up for that training session. But a few things that we do want to highlight here are, the first is just how you approach setting the goals together. And I think the key here is approach it with humility. In a man's heart, he makes his plans, but his steps are established by the Lord. This is not the whole purpose of this is not just so that you can stick your chest out and just, be able to brag about yourself and your own pride and accomplishments. We're not saying to create a check the box type of lifestyle that's, based on pride and vainglory. No, it's not based on, we're not saying try to attain goodness by your works. We're saying that this is a way to help develop a very important muscle, and that's that discipline and perseverance muscle. So in the process of creating these goals and going after them, these objectives, you're building that muscle of discipline and perseverance, which you need throughout all of life, right? And so, just remembering that building those sound habits and behaviors is what's taking place, and you're also learning what's significant, learning what's valuable to you in your household.
Right. And then also want to just flip the script in terms of a tip of, most people start their goal setting by thinking of the goal itself. Like, what do I want to achieve? I'm going to do this. I'm going to go there. I'm going to be this, right? But we want to actually instead think about, what am I willing to give up?
Exactly.
What are you willing to sacrifice? Because in order to achieve any goal, you have to give up something, right? You think of any elite athlete. For me, a gymnastics background, think of the Simone Biles, or even, for me, just a gymnast that wants to go to college and achieve a scholarship. There were certain maybe hangouts with friends in high school that I had to give up in order to stay focused on that goal. So in your marriage, what are some things that you're willing to give up in order to achieve the goal you have together? That could be friends asking to go hang out, but instead you guys want to save money because you're trying to pay off that debt. You shouldn't have to feel guilty about that. You should be empowered by that, because you are focused together on mission.
Right. That's so good. And the next tip is to think about, what you can do collectively as well as individually. Some people listening may be wondering, well, if in setting goals in marriage, should we set them as a couple, like together? Or can I still set some individual goals? And that answer is absolutely. You can do both. And I know in our marriage, we do both. There are certain goals that, are more individual, and we can encourage one another in achieving those. And then there are some that encompass the both of us collectively going after something as one. So yes, you can do both. And then the next tip, which is very, very important, probably don't even have to say it, but it is to write them down. Write them down. I mean, if it ain't written, it ain't real. Shout out to Sean Canon for that one. But yes, I mean, writing the goals down, write the vision down, make it plain, right? That's so key. And it's key because it taps into a neurological concept known as external memory or external storage. And this is based on the principle that, by writing something down, by putting something in an external place, and giving you the opportunity to see it, then it can help to prompt action better than if it just stays up in your head, right? Or if you just say it. I mean, a typical example is your grocery list, right?
Yeah.
Or in this case with the goals, we have them on our refrigerator.
Yes.
We also have them written on our bathroom mirror so that
Dry
we
erase.
can see that. Yes, we can see them, and then it reminds us, and then it helps to spur that action.
Right. And then the last tip is to just keep it simple. Start small, right? It's important that we have these big lofty dreams and visions collectively in marriage, but it's so important that we're realistic and what that first step will look like. You think about pursuing a degree in college. You don't necessarily show up day one and be like, all right, I'm going to graduate. Let's go.
Exactly.
Right? Because you're going to go through a lot of ups and downs in that process. You realize that there's the graduation as the end goal, but back that up a little bit, right? There's each year of school, back that up a little bit. You have to choose your major. You have to pass your classes. You have to take it one step at a time. So what does that one step look like for you in your marriage?
Yes, no, excellent way to kind of cap off this discussion. So as we wrap up, guys, our question for the day is, do you and your spouse set goals together? And if so, how often do you do them? Do you do them yearly? Do you do them monthly? Or do you just kind of do them sporadically? We'd love to know in the comments below. And also, if you have any helpful tips, make sure to post those in the comments as well, so that, we can all learn from each other here.
Exactly. And last housekeeping, if you are joining us on YouTube, again, go ahead and hit that subscribe button and the notification bell. If you are on our podcast, please subscribe as well. And if you just want to stay connected and actually dive a little deeper into this topic, we have a live training coming up on 5 steps to make your goals actionable. So we'd love for you to join us over at marriageinsideout.com.
Exactly. And we want to thank you all again for tuning in with us. And until next time, remember, your marriage has a mission. And what the Lord has brought together, let nothing and no one separate. Love God and love one another. And we look forward to seeing you in the next episode.